Hi everybody, I'm John and Kay. This is Omari, and we moved to Japan in October. Ooh, God. Today's video, I'm going to show you guys my process of how I went from America to Japan with a cat. Alright, before I get into today's video, please do a couple little things for me. Click that subscribe button and notification bell so you guys can become part of the Ink Village today. Alright, let's get to the topic. As soon as you even think that you want to move to Japan and you have a pet or plan to get a pet, you need to start looking into the pet importation process. Now, why you have to do that is because Japan is designated as a rabies-free country. I come from America. America is not a rabies-free country. We have cases of rabies pop up all the time. It's especially, you know, like coyotes and foxes, raccoons, bats, you name it. And it doesn't matter if the animal is a service animal or like an emotional support animal, military dog, a police dog. Like if it has a job function or something like that, they still must go through this process. Just because the dog or cat has a job does not mean that it is exempt from going through this process. Once you've decided you want to come to Japan with your pet, you want to visit the Japan Animal Quarantine site, or I believe it's called MAF, but you can Google it. I'll put the link here somewhere, and it'll also be in the description box below. That has outlined all the rules that you need to follow, the vaccine, the vaccines you need to get, the blood testing you need to get, and it has all this on a timeline. And upon first glance, it does look very daunting and just like, whoa, like this is like way too much stuff, but it's for a reason. Japan doesn't want someone to inadvertently bring their animal that may have an infectious disease or something like that spreads to the native flora and fauna in Japan. But you do want to make sure you follow that timeline to a T. If there's something that you can't quite figure out, they have like the visual, and then they also have like the like written timeline kind of thing. So there's two versions that you can get. If there's something on there that you're just not quite understanding and it's not in their FAQ or something like that, you can actually contact Japan Animal Quarantine, and you can ask them whatever other clarifying questions that you need, and they're really good about getting back to you on that. If there's a vaccine missing, or there's a blood test missing, or the blood test didn't come out favorable, then you run the risk of your animal either having to start the process all over once you're in Japan, and Japan's not going to pay for that. Jet's not going to pay for that. However you come to Japan, that entity is not going to pay for that. That's going to come out of your pocket. So you really want to make sure that you, you know, cross your T's and dot your I's when you go through this process. Luckily for me, the issues that I had, I'll get to that later. Issues that I had on the state side. I didn't have any issues once I got to Japan because I made sure all my ducks were in a row. So my little trip through the animal quarantine only took me about 10 to 15 minutes. So that's it. As far as your pet potentially being rejected if you don't follow the rules, that includes you paying out of pocket to fly your animal back to your home country. The animal can start the process over again, as I stated before. And also the worst case scenario is euthanasia. I don't know how often the euthanasia portion happens. I know that people do import livestock and stuff like that. I don't know how often that is, but I can imagine if that euthanasia portion does happen, it's probably more likely to happen on that livestock side. Or if, let's say, you're bringing an older animal in and it barely made the trip there, so the most humane thing to do would be to euthanize the animal. I mean, realistically, the most humane thing to do would have been not to bring an animal that was already on, you know, death's door kind of thing, but that's none of my business. So as you're following the timeline, you're getting your vaccines, your microchips, your vaccines, it will say, you know, get this vaccine no more than this far out and get this vaccine no more than this far out. Do not leave any gaps. So don't, if it says 30 days and 30 days, don't wait 30 days and then on the 31st day, then you get the other vaccine. That's a gap right there. That's not gonna cut it. So you wanna overlap your vaccines and blood tests. When you get to the FAVN test, FAVN, once you get to that test, that is the actual like Rabies Titer test. So that determines what level of antibodies your pet has for the rabies virus. So those FAVN tests are not cheap. I looked out because way back when I used to be a vet tech, and that was just not something that we did a lot. So I actually got it for a lot cheaper than what most other veterinarians were paying, were charging for it at the time. I think I only paid about I'll say like $125 to have just the FAVN test blood pulled and sent off. Yeah, that's not the case anywhere else in my city. It usually costs about $300+ to get that test, get the blood drawn, have it sent off, and all that good stuff, and get your results. But I lucked out on that. So I had to get it a second time because I was still applying to jobs in Japan. I was applying to government jobs. If you're curious how I got my government job, I have a video. I'll link it somewhere here. I was applying for jobs at the time, and they hadn't quite gone. Nothing went through yet. So I was thinking I was failing at life and stuff like that. Kept getting close, but wasn't the one that was picked. By the time I was able to actually land a job, the first FAVN test that I got for Amari was about to expire. So instead of just letting it expire and going to get another one, what I did was got him his, I think I got him another vaccine in between that, rabies vaccine. I know it sounds like he got loaded up. I mean, he kind of did, but I had to make sure that he was good to go. When you actually know you're going to move and you actually have a departure date set, you need to send an advance notice for your pet to the Japanese animal quarantine site, that MAF site, letting them know that, well, of your intentions, basically. So I think you can do that a minimum of 40 days prior to your departure, up into a maximum of, I think, 90 days out. Every time you update your information, you're gonna have to update that advance notice as well. Do make sure you frequently check your email. Like I said before, the majority of things that I did on that MAF site, I did digitally. So there was always this line of communication. So if let's say if your inbox or something like that is just like always crazy full or whatever, make another email and keep that email for all this stuff so you don't accidentally miss something. So check your spam, because Japan isn't gonna care if you didn't check your spam box and didn't see whatever paperwork that they needed in a certain amount of time. They're gonna be like, show me that. I don't know what to tell you. It is what it is. So yeah, just make sure whatever email that you're utilizing for your Japan move basically is a pretty clean, neat and clean list. If Japan sends it to you, print it out. If you send it to Japan, make sure you have more copies of it. Just you can't have enough copies of stuff, because if something, goes wrong later, bless you, Amari sneezed. You can say, no, I got that, I did this, and go from there. So after you get all that stuff squared away, fast forward to 10 days prior to your departure, you're going to need what's called an international health certificate. You can only get that at a vet that's certified to do that. Not every vet is allowed to do an international health certificate. You can get this done a maximum of 10 days before you leave. I got mine done as soon as that 10-day hit. That's what I set my appointment for that day and went and got it all situated. So it'll be a form, a specific form that you'll have to have your veterinarian fill out. I believe it comes from the USDA, and it will have on there that same timeline of stuff that you sent to Japan that you hopefully have already gotten approved for. You're putting all that stuff on that health certificate. And in my case, I had an issue with that because I kept asking the vet to do it, which the vet was certified, but the vet, I guess he thought he was so busy, he had like his assistant, one of the vet techs, write everything up, and then he went and checked it and then signed off on it. It was like, okay, here you go. Turns out that there was one vaccine that she forgot to put on there and he didn't catch, and I didn't catch either, but you know, I'm not paying myself to do this certificate. So I would hope if I'm gonna pay money for it, or if you guys are gonna pay money for it, that it's done right. So definitely be strict. If you have to be kind of a dick to get it filled out properly, then that's just what you're gonna have to do, because at the end of the day, this is your pet, this is your baby that you're gonna take on this big adventure. You need to make sure that you're able to have a smooth transition to Japan. If you don't have pets and you're wanting to go to Japan and eventually you get a pet, that's fine once you're in Japan, but don't get a dog or cat or something like a month or two before you leave thinking that it's just going to be easy to bring them over there. It's like, no, it's not. So just use your best judgment when you're thinking about moving, not just yourself, but your fuzzy baby overseas with you. That was already a lot of information. I'm sure I could have added a whole lot more, but for now, I'm gonna call it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Ja, ne?